propose online that we'll be right back.
She's doing it up there. I just saw her on the stage. Isa.
Yes, hello, Shani. Okay. So, I think no issue with the internet.
Africa in space? I'm sure you haven't heard that before, but it seems it is going to be a term that we'll be getting used to in the near future. Did you know that South Africa, Angola and Algeria have a satellite in space, and now Kenya has entered the race with the blasting off of its Taifa 1 or One Nation rocket? WION spoke exclusively to the engineer at the Kenya Space Agency. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Nyawede, on what other African countries need to do to better their space exploration capabilities. Watch this next report.
3, 2, 1, ignition, engines full power, and liftoff of Transporter 7. Go Falcon, go Transporter.
Kenya's first operational satellite is launched into orbit by a SpaceX rocket called Taifa 1 or Nation 1. The satellite was designed and developed by a team of Kenyan researchers. The space agency says the satellite was put together with the help of Bulgarian aerospace company Indurosat at a cost of 50 million Kenyan shillings or approximately $372,000 over 2 years. The agency says it will operate for 5 years and then decay in over 20 years, entering the atmosphere and burning out.
Okay, the main challenge we faced was lack of facilities locally to develop the systems, because this requires a clean room facilities, it requires manufacturing, assembly, and different facilities. Currently, we don't have in Kenya. And then there's also, arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, the shortage of electronic components. This delayed the project timeline. But overall, budget constraints limited us to the type of mission to develop.
21 years after the first African satellite, Sunsat-1, was launched into space by South Africa in 1999, the industry has accelerated with hundreds of millions of dollars investment into it. The last 7 years have been very successful for the African space scene. A total of 20 launches have taken place since 2016, totaling 41 satellites being sent into space. Egypt leads the way with 9 launch satellites, followed by South Africa with 8, Algeria with 7, Nigeria with 6, and Morocco with 3. Ghana, Sudan, Ethiopia, Angola, Kenya, Rwanda, and Mauritius complete the list.
Okay, the aspirations in space exploration vary from national prestige to scientific knowledge and advancing technological capability. And for Africa, I believe with the current priorities now being on food security, natural resources monitoring, meteorology, disaster risk mitigation, and I'll call it communications, would now be the priority focus areas.
In January 2016, African heads of states and governments adopted the Africa Space Policy and Strategy to facilitate growth and development across the continent using space science and technology. The African Space Policy and Strategy promises to initiate space capabilities on Earth observation systems, navigation and positioning, satellite communication, and space science and exploration. Some African countries have also developed national space policies and strategies. In some countries, academic programs have also commenced in areas such as astronomy, remote sensing, space weather, and satellite communication.
We are creating awareness, policymakers, from academia to the public on the benefits of space. This now will enable us now, one, get support for more funding, and two, sensitize the public to support these programs, because without public support, funding is usually a challenge for most countries. So for Kenya Space Agency, we are looking at increasing our investment in space, both for the country and for the region, and I believe there's a greater benefit to us.
But the challenge is that there are few jobs for the graduates. Africa eventually loses them to countries where their knowledge and skills are better used. Critics say it is key that African countries continue to increase their investment in the space sector. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Africa needs to be in space. There's no choice, in my view. Being behind in that area costs African nations quite a lot. For instance, for communication, for telephone, for education, remote education to their provinces and stuff, they pay hundreds of millions of dollars rent to get the bandwidth from private satellites and so on and so forth. Even if you look at that, it'd be enormous saving if they had their own communication satellite. And also now, with the miniaturization that I mentioned, you have CubeSats. They're like 10-centimeter cube. And that's one unit. You can have a 6U where you can have quite a few things and that you can launch.
Is that what we hear when we, for example, like Uganda sent a satellite to space recently? And
Kenya did one.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, what's different about the Kenyan satellite, it was built by engineers from a private company in Kenya. That's a departure from
private sector investment in education is happening.
And was launched by SpaceX.
Yeah.
So that's a very early stage, but it should be encouraged. I think Africa is wasting quite a bit of resources through internal wars and stuff. I'm not saying it's only in Africa, because wars happen around the world, as we know now. But leaders should make every effort possible to avoid these things and focus on what's important for the future. Being present in space is controlling your own financial transactions, controlling how you grow crops from space. You can map, you can see where moisture is low or high, and so on and so forth. It's even important for national security. So it's not a choice. You have to be there. And to do so, I think regional cooperations,
yes.
like Kenya has on San Marco Island, a launch pad that Italians use. It's near the equator. As you know, when you launch from the equator, you get the Earth rotates faster at the equator, so you get all that velocity attached to it. And so, the launch could be in Kenya. The satellite could be assembled in Uganda. Some of the electronics could be done in Ethiopia and so on. And
research happens some other places.
Yes, absolutely. It's not prohibitively difficult.
Right. I mean, prohibitive in terms of resources could be, but when you pool resources, I guess.
Absolutely.
But is Africa falling behind the space race at this point? Is that something that worries you?
It worries me, yes. Nigeria has done several iterations of space launch. For instance, they hired an English company that did their first satellite. They had their engineers go in England to work, but now they're gradually moving the control center in Nigeria and then doing some of the work in their own. So there's a lot of not highly organized Africa-wise, but these countries are trying.
That was Ethiopian-American space scientist Dr. Brooke Lako, Associate Director for Planning and R&D Solar System Exploration Division at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. To hear more of his conversation on Africa and space exploration, listen to Upfront Show with Jackson Vunganyi at voaafrica.com/UP Upfront.
Africa needs to be in space.
I'm Dr. Claire Nelson, and the founder and chief aviation leader of the Futures Forum, a nonprofit research and education practice headquartered in Maryland, USA, Washington, D.C. metro area. It's set up to promote sustainable engineering and futures thinking for communities and countries. We are very much focused on communities of the global south, both within the United States and outside and around the world. Space Ungana is the launch session. Ungana is a Swahili word meaning gathering, and it's a gathering to launch the Omni-Africa Space Exploration Analog Simulation. This project is a big vision, and it's meant to really bring Africa in a new way into the space conversation. There's some fantastic work happening in West Africa already this year. Space in Africa, which was founded by a young Nigerian young Turk, had a fantastic conference and kind of laid the groundwork for the, let's say, the business part of space. This movement, the Oaseas movement, is about bringing NGOs and regular people into the conversation. Analog astronaut research is very much done by non-profit academics. And so by launching an organization like this, a non-profit organization, in partnership with universities like Jomo University of Applied Agricultural Technology, National Technical University of Kenya, Kenyatta University, Machakos University, plus others from Ghana, All Nations University, people from Botswana, people from Cote d'Ivoire. We really talk about bringing academia and non-profit community, the space loving, the space enthusiasts, the space advocates together. Here we can be partners, for example, like Kingdom Mars Society, the Leo Sky, we have the International African Science Museum, and others. We're really excited about coming together in a new way. Regular Africans understand the future of space. This forum, three-day forum, Future Forum, begins with a conversation on the future foundation capacity. We'll talk about space and the SDGs.
So good morning once again.
We will talk about space settlement and space sustainability. We move from that to a desert trek, visiting Mars. We will hope to actually implant our project, and I like to say, road to Mars. And then we come back and we do the international movie, bringing together yet another set of students, special professionals, enthusiasts to talk about the culture, the storytelling. That in fact, Africa saw the moon the same time Europeans did. And so gazing at the stars astronomy is a new endeavor. In fact, in the creation of humanity, one of the things that we saw.
Zola, do you ever think about what Africa would look like in the next 50 or 100 years?
Africa? What's there to think about Africa? I mean, I'm here to figure out my life, not to talk of almighty Africa. Anyway, why do you ask?
Well, given the situation of Africa in the past, and I wonder if things would get better by then. You know, I read in the news that in some parts of Africa, people don't even have access to good schools, proper healthcare, and even basic amenities everyone should have.
50 years is a long time, but I believe things will be better then.
Me too. You know, sometimes I just wish I had the power to change things.
As African youth, we have the power to create the Africa we want.
My goods have been there for over 5 months. I haven't been able to trade because they've shut down the borders.
Wow, Charlie, you are still worried about your goods. My business has been shut down because of inadequate power supply. I wonder when we'll have steady power supply in this part of Africa, eh?
I wonder too. It's just so annoying.
We desire and demand an Africa that is peaceful and secure. An Africa where young and old, men and women, girls and boys from all walks of life are united in their diversity. An Africa whose growth and development are sustainable and inclusive, benefiting and bringing prosperity to all its citizens. An integrated continent, politically united, based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance. An Africa where good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law are the guiding principles of our societies. This is an Africa where we are confident in our identity, heritage, and culture, and shared values. A very thriving Africa where young people contribute at all levels of society. And ultimately, an Africa which is an influential global player responsible for managing her resources and financing her peace and development. Let us unite to build the Africa we want. Visit www.au.int to learn more about
Thank you so much. Friends and family, we are so delighted to move to our next session. We asked our speakers have been waiting patiently. We move straight into that. We had a great conversation start with the Deputy General, Director General of the Kenya Space Agency, and we'll be hearing from 3 other space agencies. Without further ado, allow me to introduce Professor Anthony Ochiri, who is chair of the Department of Mechatronics.
Thank you so much, Dr. Claire. Just maybe a slight correction so that my bosses don't fire me. I am I'm Dr. Anthony. I'm here to be promoted to a professor. Yes, I am. I'm glad to be hosting this session on behalf of the principal of College of Engineering and Technology. That's Dr. Hiram Derito, who could not join us because of some official engagement. And without much ado, I would like to invite you all for this second session. And we have our guest speakers lined up. We have Aisha Al-Haram from Bahrain. We have Dr. Sherif Sedki, and we also have Alejandro Roman, who are waiting to make their presentations. But you'll allow me to call them in the following order. I'll start with Dr. Sherif from the Egyptian Space Agency, and they will also be, Egypt will also be the host of the African Space Agency, because of that, I would like to give him priority, and also he has requested to come first because he needs to leave. Then thereafter we'll have Alejandro Roman, and thirdly we'll have Aisha making a presentation. So let me welcome Dr. Sherif Sedki, the CEO of the Egyptian Space Agency.
Hello, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation. And I would like to share with you shortly the interest of the Egyptian Space Agency in developing space technology in Africa. Is it possible that I share my presentation here? I will try to share my screen. Yeah.
Dr. Sid? Dr. Sid?
Yes. Yeah, it seems that screen sharing is not possible now. So I will just go quickly about our activities and our interest in developing space technology in Egypt for the sake of Africa. Actually, the Egyptian Space Agency was established in 2018 with the objective of developing space technology, spreading space awareness, providing space services, and doing several professional space applications. As you mentioned, and I have seen in the presentation that you have several satellites that have been launched over the last 25 years. So starting from 1998, we launched GEO satellites. That was the first in Africa for satellite communication and for broadcasting. So we have NileSat 101, 102, 201, and 301 and 302. In addition to several low orbit satellites that started to be launched in 2007 as experimental satellites. And actually this year we are planning to launch an operational satellite, MISRSat 2, which have been already tested and ready for launching. Actually, the Egyptian Space Agency is hosted within the space city that's around 123 acres, hosting the African Space Agency, where we signed the headquarter agreement in January 2023. And our roadmap for developing satellite technology starts with the different categories of satellites, like the nanosats, the microsats, and the minisats. And actually, we have just inaugurated the state-of-the-art assembly, integration, and testing center facility, capable of handling satellites up to 650 kilograms. And it have all the different basic test sets required for assessing the satellite, starting from the simulation of the space environment in the thermal vacuum chamber, having the different types of vibrations that simulate the launching effect, having the anechoic chamber for the electromagnetic compliance, the payload testing, all the standard tests, and actually we are in the phase of the validation and the accreditation of this facility to be internationally used. So this is this is the biggest facility actually in the Middle East and Africa, and it's open for the usage of all different entities in Africa. And actually, we have lots of other research and development labs for the different satellite subsystems. And we are in the phase of installing a state-of-the-art receiving station, that's a universal receiving station for controlling satellites, and in addition to having a concurrent design facility that's in the phase of installation now, and it will be ready by the end of this year. As I mentioned, we have several launches that are planned for this year. One is an operation satellite, which is MISRSat 2. And actually, this is an important development in Egypt, where we did all the testing here on our facility, and it will be launched in October 2023, and it will serve lots of the sustainable development goals for Egypt and for Africa, covering all the requirements for agriculture, for water resources, for urban development, coastal line extraction, and so forth. So this is one of the main achievements that we have during this period, in addition to another experimental satellite that will be also launched in October 2023. And we have also lots of collaboration with Africa on developing low orbit satellites. In collaboration with Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, and Nigeria, we have the African Development Satellite, which will be launched in 2024. And actually, this have two payloads, a panchromatic 7-meter resolution payload and a 30-meter multispectral payload with a lifetime of 24 months. In addition, Egypt, together with Kenya and Uganda, we are currently developing a remote sensing camera that will be placed on the Bartolomeo platform of Airbus, with the support of UNOSA that provided us this opportunity to be located on the Bartolomeo platform. And as we speak, we have engineers now from Kenya and Uganda whom are being trained and working on the development of this camera. So we have lots of collaboration with Africa, and we try to work all together to have the proper development of the space technology in Egypt and in Africa. And also we have lots of training programs which involve lots of African engineers and involve lots of countries like Gambia, South Africa, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ghana, South Sudan, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, where we train 16 different engineers from those countries on the technology for satellites. We are also keen on having lots of international collaborations and exchange of knowledge and allowing the real development of technology and technology transfer in Egypt and in Africa. So we have different collaboration with the Portuguese Space Agency, with the Hungarian, with South Africa, with Ukraine, with France, with Saudi Arabia, Belgium. So lots of international space agency that we are working with. And I would also like to announce that we have in October a big international conference called New Space Horizon Africa and the Middle East, where we are inviting all the international space agency and all the African space agencies and the Africans who are interested in developing the space technology and in specific the satellite technology in the continent. And I will send you all the flyers, and it will be a pleasure to have you attending this conference. That's in brief an overview of what we are doing in Egypt, and I would like to thank you again for the invitation. Hello? Hello?
In terms of onboarding the civil society actors, the universities, the non-profits, research organizations, in terms of by the time the building is done, that we're also ready for the institutional architecture to be on the way as well. How is that being designed, the institutional architecture, as well as the physical building? When will that be open?
Yeah, I haven't heard this part. The voice was disconnected. I haven't heard this part.
Okay, maybe she can go again. Just ask again.
Okay, so I had two adjoined questions. One was, when will the actual facility be open? And at the same time, how are we beginning to develop the institutional architecture for the participation of civil society? So universities across Africa and NGOs like ours who need to be part of the ecosystem. How is the institutional architecture being roadmap? So by the time you open the building, we're actually ready to start business, so to speak.
Yeah, we are already in business actually, and we are welcoming all the different collaboration and contributions from various entities. So the Egyptian Space Agency is fully up and running, And as I discussed in this short presentation, unfortunately, I couldn't present the slides to show you the real facility, but it's already up and running, and it's commissioned, and it's open for the interactions with different entities. And actually, we developed lots of different educational space-based kits, like the Space Key, which is a set of experiments provided to undergraduate students in universities, where they can understand the different subsystems of the satellites and they can implement it. In addition to opening the premises of the space agency for students from across the African continent to do internships and training and different capacity building programs. And as I mentioned in this short talk, we have lots of opportunities opened already for African students and engineers to do their training here in Egypt.
Okay, thank you for your response. I must acknowledge the fact that there has been a bit of a lag, so we lost you at some point in time, but we got to hear most of your presentation. Mine is basically just a comment. It's just to note that there's a lot of collaboration going on with other space agencies, so maybe that seems to be the way to go. Now, maybe some clarification about the dates for the space, you call it the New Space Horizon in October. If you could give us some more details about that.
Yes, so the conference will be held on the 31st of October, and it will be extending till the November 2nd. And I will send you the flyers with all the details very soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I don't know whether there's another question from the audience for our guest speaker. Okay, maybe the second part, you have two questions to answer? You're satisfied? Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Sherif.
Thank you.
I think we can release you for that, so that you proceed on and listen to the second presenter.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Alejandro. Okay, so next we have Alejandro Roman. Representing Paraguay Space Agency.
Hello, good morning. Do you hear me well? Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. It's an honor to share with you the efforts and the initiatives of the Paraguayan Space Agency. I'm sure that we share same challenges and same opportunities. That is why I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you our efforts and initiatives to develop in an emerging country a space program. Paraguayan Space Agency has 5 years of history. The law was put inactive in 2014, but in 2018 we start to have our first budget. We have a lot of opportunities and challenges in the aerospace development in our country. The first thing that I want to mention is that the space sector is a very important economic sector in the world that is moving a lot of resources, more than $400 billion annually. Is a huge opportunity, and even the launches and the development is growing exponentially. The participation of the South America and Central America is just 1.6% of this development. as I mentioned, this is a huge room for improvement and a big opportunity. We are living in a changing world. We are talking about the climate change from decades ago, and the pandemic changes also our way to learn, our way to work, our way to communicate. For make decision in this changing environment, we need to take in consideration data. And one of the most important sources of data, geospatial data, are the satellites. And a huge amount of this data is available for free. Our countries needs to understand the necessity to know how to access the data, to know how to download the data, to know how to process the data, and how to extract the valuable information from those data. And that is one of the main reasons the Paraguayan Space Agency was created, to achieve the benefits of space in many areas, in telecommunications, Earth observation applications, GNSS applications, microgravity experiment opportunities, and also the observation and exploration of the universe. Why developing aerospace science and technology in an emerging country? Because it generates productive transformations and accelerates the scientific, technological, industrial, commercial, and social development of any country. And in our case, in Paraguayan Space Agency case, we selected two lines of development, the two main lines. First one is Earth observation applications, the use of satellite data to improve the decision-making process in the government, to expand and improve also the lines of research in the universities, and also the productive sector. Paraguay is mostly agriculture country. And the second line is the space engineering, mostly CubeSat projects. Both of them are based in capacity building, and this is our priority in this moment. We believe in the international cooperation. We believe on the South-South cooperation. We are sure that this tool can accelerate our development. We are making a huge effort on outreach and to communicate the benefits of space. And also we are making a huge effort to be present in the international forums of space. Talking about Earth observation applications, we started with disasters. In 2019, we suffered one of the biggest floodings in our country, affecting more than 100,000 families in Paraguay. And we started to use to activate the International Charter for Space and Major Disaster. Was our first experience. The same year, when the flooding stops, we started with wildfires. And we again activate for the second time the International Charter for Space and Major Disasters. And we are working very closely with other institutions in our country, in the government, in the academia, and also in the NGOs. With all the information we gather, we provide a unified daily report with many other institutions that it goes to the general public and the decision makers. And this also represents a coordinated effort on the case of disasters. Many institutions collaborate, and many space agencies are part of this international mechanism of cooperation. With all the lessons learned, with this implementation, we create an Earth observation and GIS laboratory for developing pilot projects on disaster risk reduction, precision agriculture, natural resource management, territorial planning, deforestation, and many other areas. This is our first infrastructure in Asunción, Paraguay, and we duplicated this infrastructure in the last months. We are part of the GEO, International Earth Observation Institution, and also the AmeriGeo, Earth Observation for the Americas. And also we are part of and founding member of the Latin American Network of Earth Observation Laboratories for disasters risk reduction. This is part of the team of the GeoLab, and those are some of the products of the thematic maps we started to develop in the lab. Last year, we developed 150 maps with students from universities, with faculty members, and also with the staff of the Paraguayan Space Agency. Those are sample maps of those product that we have developed. We have a very close and very interesting relationship with NASA. NASA is helping us in especially in disaster risk reduction activities. We are doing joint events with NASA, and also UNSPIRE from UN. We have the visit of international experts that work with us in the technical mission for improving the work of the lab. Also, with the help of international organizations and from the private sector like ESRI, we are making pilot project on schools in the use of Earth observations in schools. And we are doing this in Panama and in Paraguay. This is a pilot project, and we want to put this Earth observations activities in the schools to strengthen the STEM and STEAM education, to build the next generation of scientists, mathematicians, engineers, and so on. In space engineering, let me share with you the story of our first satellite. The project name is Paraguay to Space, and we are followed a Japanese program called BIRDS. Many countries in Africa also are part of this project, and we launched our first satellite. The good thing on this project is that two Paraguayan young engineers went to QTech, Kyushu Institute of Technology, to develop their PhD and master's degree. And in the academic program, they built our first satellite from March to September 2018. Then in 2019, we started to develop our flight model. And finally, we launched this our first satellite on February 2021. This is a historical moment for Paraguay. We made a television program, 3 hours of transmission, and that program was viewed by almost 3 million people in a 7 million people country. This is a huge impact of a small satellite. 2 days later, we arrived in the International Space Stations, and 14th of March 2021 was deployed on space, on our first satellite, jointly with another 2 satellites, part of the same project. The first 4 was 3 satellites, one from Japan, one from Paraguay, and one from the Philippines. This is some overview of the systems of the satellite. I will not go into details because of the time, but this means our first step in space for our country. We are very proud of this achievement, and it was very inspiring for especially for the young professionals that were involved. More than 100 people was involved in this project. One of the main missions was the detection of insect that transmit disease in our country. And the satellite itself, it doesn't have the means to detect the insect. In reality, what we have done is to put some detectors in the field, physically, with a pheromone that attracts the insect and has some sensors that detects the presence of the insect. Then those sensors transmit the information and goes to a hub, and from the hub to the satellite. The satellite is just a telecommunication bridge. This is one of the images that we have achieved with our satellite, with the constellation. This is the first image when the satellite was deployed. The satellite take this picture, and you can see the International Space Station and the Earth. This is in the moment of the deployment, and those are some of the images that was taken with the constellations. We have learned a lot with this project. We have achieved many contributions in the country in the science and technology development. This is the disease. It's the Chagas disease that affects, unfortunately, the most vulnerable people in our country. More than 12,000 deaths in the region in total. This is the insect that transmit the disease. This is a schematic of the box, the box that detects the presence of the bug, and all is with solar energy source. We put it in the indigenous community, and also to develop our first space mission, we work to create our first infrastructure. We have an operation center in Asunción. We have in the National University of Asunción also, we have another infrastructure, ground station that we put it in the university, and another ground station is 400 kilometers in the indigenous community. It was very challenging to explain to the indigenous community how and why the space program can benefit the public health in the community. This is some of the pictures of the implementation. Finally, we are part of a network of ground stations that is helping many other countries in their space mission also. Those are some of the schematic of the places we put the traps, the detection traps. Those certificates was given by JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency. One is of the acceptance of the satellite, and this one was about the deployment of the satellites. We want to express our gratitude on all the institutions, national and international institutions that helped us to achieve this, our first satellite. The satellite ends the mission on July 3rd, 2022, on 1 year and a half of mission. With the lessons learned, we created our space lab, and we are working in the second and third mission in our country in this moment. We also, in the final section of my presentation, we also are doing a huge effort in training, international presence, and outreach in many places. In like I mentioned, GEO, UNSPIDER, in Copius, UNOSA. In the IAF, we are chairing the emerging space ecosystem committees. We have 5 subcommittees, and one of them is Africa subcommittee. This is the Latin America, Africa subcommittee, Europe subcommittee, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Central Asia subcommittee. The overall strategy for this subcommittee is to help to make an effort to help in the emerging countries. And we also are very present in many events worldwide to explain and to show how we are doing our efforts to develop our the space science and technology in our country. In Colombia, Russia, France, USA, Peru, Mexico, Emirates, Brazil, Chile, UK, and also in our country. And finally, we have organized the Amerigeo 2022 in Asunción, Paraguay. We are present in the IAA and in other institutions, and this is a very, very important. NASA has selected the Paraguayan Space Agency for the third year as an international partner for the NASA Space Act Challenge. And the last year, this young professional won the competition in one category. Finally, Paraguayan Space Agency has more than 70 agreements signed with national and international institutions, and shaping the future, we are looking for new alliance, new challenges, and new projects. In conclusion, the Paraguayan Space Agency in 5 years joined the international forums most important in space, participated in the events, most important events related to space, and is working with the most important space agencies in the world. There is a driving force more powerful than steam, electricity, and nuclear power, and that the driving force is the will. I hope to start making efforts to continue talking with our colleagues in every region, especially in the South-South cooperation, to improve our work and to accelerate our development. Thank you very much. This is all from my side, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
So much, Mr. Roman, for joining us all the way from Paraguay. It's really exciting to see Paraguay doing its part in bringing space for all into reality. You talked about South-South cooperation, and I had a meeting with the Director General of the UN Office of South-South Cooperation in New York, and they listened, and I'm not sure that that office actually has specific programming in mind around the South-South cooperation in space science research and technology. How do you think we might move on your agenda? You specifically say Paraguay has an agenda. How might we here in this organization, we are not a government agency, we're a nonprofit, how might we begin the conversation following this event to see what practical steps you might take to get something started? And that this not be another talk shop, because time is going, right? So have you thought about ways in which nonprofits in Africa can get started, perhaps with our counterparts in Latin America? Is this something you already thought through, or is something we should get together and think through immediately after this event is over to really put some of your issues into play as well as the ones that we have as well?
Yes. Thank you very much. I try to understand the question. I think the people we are making the difference. As soon as we can strengthen our networking, the contacts between the people, the institutions, we can advance, because I'm pretty sure that many countries have solved many problems that we have unsolved yet, and vice versa. Maybe we can help each other to share the experience, the knowledge, and the lessons learned. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the people are the key factor that makes the difference. Talking about institutions, I'm not sure also that the UN still have this office, if I understood correctly, but that doesn't stop us to continue this conversation. Our contact details is listed. Will be more than happy to continue this conversation with colleagues that are interested to develop some kind of cooperation, joint projects, capacity building activities. I think this is the best way to help each other and to strengthen this South-South cooperation. I have very good friends in many places in Africa. I think we can push forward. We can move forward this conversation and make things happen. I'm very positive and optimistic about this regard.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Any other question from the audience? Or maybe even those who may be online, there could be a question. Are there some people online with questions? Okay, in the meantime, I can ask just one. There was something you mentioned about data being available for free. Maybe you could clarify on that, because I thought that has been a challenge. What exactly you meant? Which is this data that's available for free that maybe people don't know how to access? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very good question. There are many portals to access satellite information, like Copernicus, like the NASA portals that make the open data available. But there are challenges to achieve or to access high definition or high resolution satellite data. But until one specific, for example, Copernicus is at 10 meters spatial resolution data. It is accessible for free. You can just log in and download the data. We have the regional level in CONAIR, Argentina, INPE in Brazil, that is has the open data policy also, and we are reaching out this data. The International Charter for Space and Major Disasters provides high resolution data for also without any costs, but you need to activate the mechanism to apply, and needs to be approved. And once it's approved, 22 space agencies provide you about the data about the disasters, if there are floodings or fires or what another kind of disasters. There are mechanisms to access open and free data, but it's not enough. We have limits on the accessing those data. Sometimes the limit is on the spatial resolution, sometimes the limit are on the temporal resolution, but there are ways to access until a certain limit. If it's not the same on the commercial providers that give you a centimeter data about a specific area in a country, but something for start is a point of start. I think the emerging countries doesn't start with zero. We have some things that we can do without invest huge amount of resources at the beginning, especially at the beginning.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And in the interest of time, I think we'll appreciate you once again. So maybe the audience could give Mr.
Thank you very much again for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Most welcome. Thank you so much. Now we'll have our third presenter or third guest for this session, and that is Aisha Al-Haran from the Bahrain National Space Agency. I hope she's with us. So welcome, Aisha. She's an engineering specialist at the agency. You can hear us, Aisha?
Yes, can you hear me?
That's how we can hear you. Kindly proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Can you see my screen also?
Not yet.
We can see you, but
Can you see it now? Hello?
we can see you. We can see you and you can see the screen.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Al-Haram. I am an engineering specialist at the National Space Science Agency from Bahrain. So the National Space Science Agency was established by a royal decree from His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa in 2014, and it included the establishment of a framework for creating a national space sector in Bahrain. So NSSA has a national space policy, which one draft in collaboration with the relevant stakeholders, and it was approved by the cabinet in 2018, where the real establishment of the NSSA started. In addition, NSSA has a strategic plan for a period of 5 years from 2019 till 2023. And it was approved by the cabinet also in the same year. So our strategic plan is scheduled to be concluded by December 2023 this year, and it contains 6 goals that drive our vision. One of our main goals is the capacity building. So we are deeply committed to building a human capacity, which is why we have introduced education scholarships, including postgraduate programs in engineering field, for example, with a specialized focus on space system engineering. And also, we have provided training scholarships in various space science disciplines, and we empower individuals to analyze space images and data and try to gain hands-on experience in assembling and testing satellites. So to further strengthen the capacity building, also we have fostered collaboration with esteemed educational institute and research center worldwide, and also we organize different knowledge exchange workshops with different entities and different society level. Also, our second main goal is raising the awareness of space science in Bahrain here. And we did a remarkable progress, especially after the successful launch of our first satellite that was in a collaboration with the United Arab Emirates, and it's called Light One. And the people in Bahrain now started knowing more about the space and become more passionate about knowing more about the space. So we have achieved this by conducting series of training workshops that is tolerated for different segments of the society. So we targeted the youth, also the school students, also the government entity, private companies, trying to motivate them and teach them more. And we are giving like workshops, arranging some summer camps, for example, to raise the awareness about space and do some capacity building program. Furthermore, we established a dynamic website showing the latest news, scientific articles, and also we are engaging the youth and the kids by educational games. Also, we expanded our presence in the social media platform like the Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, which allows us more to interact with the audience. And I'm delegated to share that we have accomplished around 98% from our strategic plan, from our goals, and we are now preparing our next strategic plan. But since there is a real need, and due to the importance of the capacity building and raising the awareness about space science, so these two goals remains for our next strategic plan due to their importance. So at NSSA, we truly believe in the power of building national capacity, especially when it comes to empowering our talented youth and inspiring women to excel this dynamic field of space. So we understand that their unique perspective and contribution are critical for the growth and advancement of the space sector. So we are trying to spread awareness about the space fields and offer these youth and women the opportunity to participate in different workshops and getting scholarships to study. And due to our great relationship with different entities from all around the world, due to the international cooperation, we managed to get many scholarships for the students to study outside Bahrain in the space sector, and also to get training opportunity. And one of the main good example to show here, we have a good relationship with entities in Africa. So a recent highlight was this is our second year to collaborate with an Egyptian company to give a training program for students here in Bahrain. So also together with different entities, we strive to give the way for a better future here in Bahrain for space exploration for the students. So we arranged with the Ministry of Education to include some of the space-related curriculum and also lessons in their study, not only a dedicated subject for the space science, but also we are trying to include the space in the languages, like English and Arabic language courses, also in the Islamic course, for example, in the history course, in the math course, and even in the science course. So we are trying to engage the space science related lessons in different subjects in the student schools in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. Also in this regard, we are trying to work in a collaborated or joint project, like a senior project, a graduation project, or even master thesis with different higher educational institute here in Bahrain, to engage the space science related project with the student graduation project as well. So what we need to build a foundational capacity in space, so this is the main question in how we can achieve capacity building in space. What are the requirements? So I believe that in order to have a national capacity building, we should achieve the following point, where we first need to develop the skills required to design, manufacture, assemble, test, and operate satellite with many types and sizes. And this can be done by providing hands-on opportunities for people to learn about all the subsystems in the satellite, and not only building satellites, but also analyzing satellite data due to its importance. The second thing, we need to establish a good infrastructure. So this will help us in providing the hands-on opportunities and building the national capacity. And the last thing, but not the least, is the collaboration and partnership with international space entities, space agencies, companies, and even universities and research centers, as space projects usually done in collaboration with many entities. And this will aid in reducing the associated risk and also the cost of these projects. So many people think that they need to first they need to focus on, for example, food security instead of focusing on investment in the space sector. So space technology and space science plays a critical role in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal, as 40% of these SDGs could not be achieved without using space data and technology. So it is important to understand that the unique contribution that space technology brings to the table, for example, satellites provide valuable data that helps monitoring. For example, if we are talking about the food security, so we can monitor agriculture patterns, assist land productivity, and predict crop yields, for example. So this information enables effective resource management, and also like we can have a warning system and targeted involvement to address food security issues. Moreover, space-based technologies aid in efficient water management, climate change monitoring, and disaster response. So all of which are critical for ensuring sustainable, for example, if we are talking specifically about food production and combining hunger. So by investing in space technology alongside our efforts to ensure food security, we enhance our overall to achieve our overall capacity to achieve the SDG goals. So we could not say that the space science is away from our daily life or from achieving our main goals and enhancing the human lives. So Africa journey into space is not new. It was there from the late 90s, 50s, and early 60s. So during the exciting space race era, there is in the history African entities exist. So since then, African institute and agencies has collaborated with us on impressive project, and we have shared joint projects with different entities and different countries from Africa. Also, we have some shared knowledge exchange programs pushing the limits of what we can achieve together. Like we are from an Asian country and you are from African country, so all together we are working to push the limit, and we can achieve a significant involvement in the space. Also, we are proud in contributing or announcing that we are contributing in a very big project, a microsatellite project that is shared between different countries, and it involves around 6 countries from Africa side. As I mentioned earlier, that collaboration and international collaboration is essential for improving the space sector in any country. So, for example, the international collaboration allows us to overcome challenges, especially the main common challenge that most of the countries suffer from, which is the limited budget in the space sector. And the international collaboration helps in achieving success even with having these kind of challenges. So by partnering with international space agencies, we can share knowledge, we can benefit from free space data, and also it enables us to pool resources, achieving more together than working individually. Also, we can gain access to free training programs, participating in competitions. So one example is that recently we won a competition organized by ANUSA to host a payload. So we were able to cut the cost significantly by winning this competition. And also it allows us to get like a valuable learning experience and expanding our horizon. One more example is that we are trying by our international collaboration and participating in different competitions to secure some seats while participating in conferences to share knowledge. So even with the limited budget, still we can participate in conferences and try to be exposed to the outside community or to the big countries in the space fields. However, we are just an emerging country in this field, and also we are trying to benefit from free of charge conferences and sessions that are online to also cut the cost. So by combining expertise and resources, we can accelerate the progress in the space sectors. And also, we believe that collaboration empowers individuals and foster knowledge sharing and creates network, driving us toward new discoveries and innovation. So I guess that's it for my presentation, and feel free to ask any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aisha, maybe we can appreciate her with a hand clap. Okay, and I would like to open the floor for one or two questions. A question from... So maybe I could... Oh. Okay, one of them, I think there's something you mentioned. You say that you've achieved 98% of your strategic goals, and that's quite commendable. I don't think many organizations are able to achieve that. So maybe you could share the secret as to how that was achieved. And the other one is about the programs that you run, and how interested are the students in your nation, especially now to study space systems engineering. I'm curious to know something about that. Thank you. Any other question from the floor? So that maybe we can take all of them together.
Misha has a question.
It's just a clarity on the program she talked about. Thank you, Aisha. It's a clarification on the program that you talked about involving 6 countries in Africa. I didn't capture it clearly. The program itself, you can give more details to it.
Okay, maybe just one more so that you can just answer all of them together. You have a question.
Hi, Aisha. Thank you for your presentation. I was interested in learning a little bit more about the program associated with women in STEM and space.
Okay, you can take those ones.
Okay, so related to achieving our strategic goal, like it's too early to say that we achieved 98%, while it will be ended by the end of this year. But as I told you from the beginning, that building the capacity is the main goal that we have. So if you build the right capacity, they will help you to achieve your strategic plan as soon as possible. So the main secret is in the capacity building. Since the establishment of the agency, they invested in building the capacity, and when they when they employ different employees here, there are certain requirements to ensure that they are having the right skilled person to be working in this sector, to act like the core of the space sector here in Bahrain. So this is the main secret of achieving our strategic planning quickly. This is one thing. The second thing is working smartly, not hard working. So we are trying to benefit as much as we can, like I told you, from different free training programs, from free launch of satellites, for example, trying to benefit from free conference participation. So by these kind of collaboration with other entities, we managed to achieve this percentage from our strategic plan. The second program that involved the different agencies from 6 countries from the Africa is the 813 satellite microsatellite project. So this project is an outcome of the Arab cooperation in the space sector. So Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum from the United Arab Emirates announced this project in 2019. So this project will involve all the Arab countries, and six of them are from the African side. So this project hopefully will be announced soon about its progress. And I'm not sure if I captured the last question. The voice was unclear, so if you can repeat it for me.
Okay, it was about the women in space. That was the question, isn't it? Yes, you mentioned something to do with the women in space, so it was just a clarification on that. It's women
Okay,
in
so
space.
it is the same. Okay, so it is the same about the six countries in the satellite project.
No, sorry. It's a clarification. You mentioned something to do with the women in space. With whether there's a program like that, you mentioned something in the presentation. So how it is in your country, or how it is that your agency is trying to support that.
Okay, you mean about women in space? Sorry, but the voice is unclear for me.
Yes, it's about women in space. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, we are trying to get the women involved also in this sector, so to achieve the diversity. Yeah, one thing that I want to mention that NSSA won the 3G award organized by the IAF. Because we have around 65% of our employees at NSSA from where they are women, and 67% from the leadership also they are women here in the agency. So we are trying to engage the youth and women to be part of the space sector. So we have different programs. For that, we have dedicated programs for the girls' schools, and also we are cooperating with the Space for Women initiative from ENUSA. From NSSA, we have one mentor there, and the ENUSA and the Space for Women initiative for ENUSA. So we are trying to give the opportunities for all to be part of a space. And also we have a recent initiative that also trying to involve people with disability in the space sector here in Bahrain.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. I think all the questions were answered. We appreciate your presence and contribution. I don't know if Dr. Clara has something to add.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that. I do not know whether we have another speaker who's joined us online. Not really. Okay, so with that, then we come to the close of this particular session on technology, and I think we now proceed on to the second part of our. Is it the third part of our program? Yes, and I think that's the lunch. Right? Yes, it's a lunch. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to just thank all our speakers. Give them a hand. Share to the gift. Egyptian Space Agency, home of the Africa Space Agency. We have someone from Paraguay, Latin America, and Bahrain. And I have to say, I'm very excited about what I'm seeing in the Arab countries. UAE Space Agency is run by a woman, so clearly the women in that region are doing what they can to run things. I want to thank Dr. Anthony Muchiri for ably moderating. I'd like him to come back and receive a small gift for the university. I got this book. I was at a National Space Society conference this year, and actually we have somebody from National Space Society, part of our armchair chat at lunchtime. The book is called Cosmic Careers, about careers in space. The whole point of this conversation is to begin to engage, first of all, a transdisciplinary approach. Space is not just for electrical engineers or mechanical engineers and so many other kind of engineers, plus the finance, plus the accounting, plus the law, a lot variety of technology. So this book, Cosmic Careers, is for your library and for use of hopefully your soon-to-be National Society of Black Engineers Aerospace Club, which we are hoping we can get started here at JCOD. So may I give this to you? And I'd like to ask Martin Dunga to join me on stage. You heard talk about this handbook for space capability development. It was written by Rose Bashir. She's going to be on later, again during lunch, so I wanted to give a copy of this to you for your office. I have another extra one for your library as well. But this was a labor of love. Rose is a former Air Force official who was stationed in Ghana. And when she retired from the Air Force, she decided to really support, so this was during her gap year, so to speak, while she looked for another job. So she did this in her gap year while a research fellow at a Center for Global Environment in Washington, D.C., just hot off the press. And to get it, I had to go through the rain. She had to leave it on her back porch. But she